wasn't good.
Good morning. You were supposed to get her off at 11:45. But we don't want to do that to Kim. Before you go, I just want to tell you something.
You gonna cry?
Yeah, I cry a lot. I was thinking about this all week. There's some of you see there's an image Bob used to put on the screen. It was the legacy or the lineage. There was Andrew Carnegie, and then there was Napoleon Hill, and then there was Earl Nightingale, and then was Bob. And I just kept thinking, the next person that's on that is you. I was talking to him this morning. I brought my friends with me, my invisible counsel. And Bob and I used to talk about Kim a lot, and we used to laugh. And it was funny because he used to tell a story all the time about Kim, and it wasn't really true. I mean, it was true, but he left a lot out. And but we did have a lot of conversations about you, and I know I'm very proud of you. This is an amazing event, by the way. And you've outdone what we ever did at Proctor Gallagher. I'm telling you that. This is the best venue, best event I've ever been at. And you are the best. Thank you.
Go sit down.
So I've got 8 minutes.
No, you've got more than that.
I know, I'm just kidding. I have about 20 minutes. And that's all it's going to take. In fact, it's only going to take me about 10 minutes to teach you on self-image and how you can resolve the issues that you're facing. Kim talked about you can accept or reject what I say. And I don't really care if you accept or reject what I say. But don't neglect it. Not many people, they came, are you talking on self-image tomorrow? I can't wait to hear you talk about self-image. I said, make sure you frickin' listen. Has anybody ever heard me speak before? Okay, so I always ask this regardless. So I'm going to ask it just to make sure that it's okay. Do you want me to sugarcoat it or give it to you straight? Okay, good. Because I'm very direct. And it took me a long time to get to this point. I'll tell you, it's a real bugger when you have a self-image problem and you're working for Bob Proctor. There's a chapter in my book called "Things Were Delicate," and there was these. I get emotional because I think of the people that are in that book, and it was these teachers that saw something in me and believed in me when I didn't, because I really felt like a piece of crap most of my life. And Bob was one of them, you know. And at dinner last night, I was showing some pictures. Oh, by the way, I was working on my slides too all day and all week. I don't have any, just so you know. But I was working on them. I knew I wouldn't have time to do slides. Kim was going to cut me short. No. But I was showing pictures last night, and there was a picture. I had one photo, but Gina Hayden, who worked for Bob for a long, long time, she had a photo of an event I went to, and it was February 21st, 2014. I was in the coaching program, and Arash is his name. He phoned me up. He said, there's an opportunity to go to an event. It's in Los Angeles. There's only going to be about 14, 15 people in the room, and you should go. This will be your chance to meet Bob and actually, work with him. And the idea was you sit on a stool in front of everybody else, and he works with you one-on-one. It's called the hot seat, right? And so I was the first guy on the stool. Anyway, I'll show you the picture if you want, but there's a picture of me sitting on the stool, and Bob's like this, because he's yelling at me, right? And I'm like that. You should see the picture. It's the funniest thing. And And he said to me, I went down there because in 2001, I had written my story in the newspaper, my life story in the newspaper. And then it was on television. And people saw the article, and they saw the news story and the television story, and they kept calling me, and they're going, how did you do it? And everybody was seeking me out, trying to get me to explain to them, how did you do what you did in spite of the odds? Because up until 2000, I had blocked out a very dark, violent, abusive story. And I was free of it for the most part. You know, all the shame, all the junk, all the negative feelings, all the guilt, all the resentment, it all fallen away when I went public. And so 13 years later, my mistaken identity was holding me back because I wanted to help people. Because everybody was coming to me, and if you came to me, I could tell you what I did, but you couldn't do what I did. I couldn't transfer the information. And I started following Bob, and I got into this coaching program, and I remember walking one morning, listening to Sunday morning, I would walk and I would listen to The Science of Getting Rich on audio, and Michael Beckwith would open the audio, and then Bob would teach, and then Jack Canfield would close. And I remember walking along, and I was weeping as I'm listening, because there was a couple things that they said in that message, and it was a real turning point. So I went to LA, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to become a speaker. I was speaking because people saw the story, so schools called me, and police organizations called me. These people were calling me, and I was asked to speak. And the lady that mentored me and counseled me and brought the abuse story out of me, she said, you have no right to get up there and speak and tell people what they should do. You need to walk the talk. Now, I related that because I've always done that in my business. I was always the guy that would start out, and I would go to number one as fast as I could. I did it when I first got into the business. It was 1990. I went to a seminar. The first time I met Bob, I didn't really meet him. I mean, I shook his hand, right? Sweaty palms and all. But it was called You Were Born Rich. And I left that event. And I wrote on a goal card that my name is Diamond Doug, and I'm going to be the number one guy in my business. And the reason I wanted it was because you get a diamond pin, and you get a trip to Bahamas, and you get to have dinner with the chairman. And I went back to my office, and I told everybody this. And the guy that got me the job, I'd gone bankrupt. I was working in a factory. A buddy of mine, handsome black guy driving the Saab. This guy was like the Calvin Klein commercial, with the underwear. He was that guy. And he had this nice car, nice clothes. He was getting all the girls. Like I wanted what he had. And I came back, and he just laughed his ass off. He goes, I show him this goal card. He just tossed it. He goes, you're full of crap. And he was the number one guy. And I kicked his ass in 6 months. And I became the number one guy in the company. And no, I say that only because that was the kind of the walk the talk that I always was. And so here I am. People are asking me for help, and I'm speaking and all this stuff. And it was true. I had no right to stand up and tell you what you should do. So I went down to LA because I wanted to be a speaker, and I wanted to tell my story. But my mistaken identity said, you have no right to make money off your story. It's just not right for you to go out and charge people to tell your story. And anyway, I'm working with Bob. We're pretty much done. I'm working with Bob on the stool, and you can see in the picture, he was frustrated. Now, I don't know, I never got a chance to ask him about that event. He talked to so many people, he might not even remember it, but I remember it. And at the end of it, he goes, what the hell do you want? I go, I don't know, Bob. I was stuck. Everybody's stuck. I just want to get everybody unstuck. He looks at me, he goes, "You're the stuck buster." Everyone goes, "Oh my God." Anyway, that was a turning point for me, and I made my mind up. He said, "Why don't you come work for me?" It was all said and done. He goes, "Don't be a speaker." He said, "You come work with me, and you build your reputation with me, and then you go out and you be a speaker." And I didn't really know what that even meant. I said, "Okay, yes, sir," as he used to tell us to do. And I went home. It was 2 months later before I got to go down to his house and talk to him. And what he meant was, "Why don't you become a Proctor Gallagher consultant?" And so that was end of April. And then he said, "I want you to come down to training on May 4th and 5th in Toronto, and I want you to speak. But go get 10 customers first." Well, I didn't get 10 customers, so of course I didn't speak. But I went to work for him, and at that training, I wrote on my goal card, "I'm the Roger Bannister of thinking into results. I'm the #1 consultant in the world, and I'm working side by side with Bob Proctor." And I got a phone call at the end of August. "Doug." "Yes, Bob." "What are you up to?" "I'm at the cottage, Bob." And he offered me this position. I go, "Well, what?" He said, "I want you to be the international sales director." I said, "What is that?" "Well, I want you to be the top guy in the world, and I want you to help other consultants do the same thing." It was pretty much what was on my goal card, And anyway, I just, working with Bob, it was hard because I made it hard. He said, "You're making this so complicated." And Bob, you don't understand. Because, "Doug, it's so simple. And you're really dragging this." I said, No, Bob, you don't understand." "Okay, Doug, whatever you say." I said, No, Bob, you didn't come from where I came from. I know, yeah, you were brought up in the Depression era and all, it was tough time stuff, but you didn't go through what I went through. You see, you don't understand. And I was going to prove him wrong, that he did not understand what self-image was really all about because he hadn't been through what I had been through. And I was wrong. He did understand it, but it's the way that he passed it along to me that was hard because he coached everybody different. But what he did for me is he made me figure it out on my own. He just would subtly give me gifts, along the way to get me to believe in myself. But he made me figure it out, and I figured it out. When Bob was 2 years old, there was a guy who he published a number of books, but there's 2 books that he published. And when he passed away, Bob was 21. And I was on a call last week, I guess, and my partner, she had said, "What's that part about the prison guy in that book?" I said, "I know, I'll go look for it." Anyway, the book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie, right? And so I went looking for the book, and I couldn't find it, but I found another book. It's called How to Enjoy Life in Your Job. And I didn't know this. I bought it like in 1990, I think, or 89 or 90. And I found a copy of this book when my dad had passed earlier. And I forgot. It's actually a compilation book. Carnegie was dead. This came out in the 80s. And this publisher put together excerpts from How to Win Friends and How to Stop Worrying, Start Living. And I got the book out of my library. I said, "I got to read this." So I put it beside my bed, and I went to bed at night. And the very first chapter was an excerpt from How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. He said, "The fundamental problem we have today." Now, 1934 was when the 11th edition was published. He actually wrote it in 24. Okay? He said, "The fundamental problem all down through history is people are trying to be somebody they're not. And it causes all kinds of psychoses, neuroses, and complexes. Can anybody relate to that? Put your hands up, you liars. Come on. Okay? He said, if you would just be yourself, that would be a heck of a lot easier. And that's what I figured out. So you got to stop trying to fix yourself. That's why you're frustrated and confused. Okay? How many people are working on their self-image? Stop it. You don't have to work on your self-image. You can't even create a self-image arbitrarily, Maxwell Maltz said. I read that book 50 times. But one time I read it, and I pretty much got everything in the book. You can't just make up a self-image arbitrarily. You can't be somebody you're not. Kim is right. You can have anything you want within reason of who you are. How many people are trying to find themselves and find their purpose? Put your hand up. Stop looking. Okay? You're going about it the wrong way. I discovered the secret to self-image in a very unconventional method that was here the whole time. And it was pretty much what Carnegie said. Now, when I say it's unconventional, in the method that I used, it's no magic method. There's no secret method. It's been here the whole time. It's unconventional because society went in a different direction. Okay? I remember listening to Earl Nightingale. So Bob said, "You gotta listen to that Lead the Field." Like, yeah, it's okay. No, you gotta listen to Lead the Field. I now understand why he loved Lead the Field so much. And so I was listening. I remember Earl Nightingale one time when I heard it, and he talked about post-war and when consumerism and commercialism really started to boom. And he was talking about basically the ideas that we got off track because we started keeping up with the Joneses. And what happened, and it really took off post-war, is two fundamental major problems in the world, and it's worse than ever. It's worse than it's ever been, and it's getting worse, and if we keep on the pace we're at, it's going to get really bad. Okay? And it causes, or there's an underlying virus, the real pandemic, that is fueling these two major issues. And you all, I don't think there's any in this room that was able to avoid it or can avoid it, but you can control it now. And Kim is trying to teach you that. The two fundamental issues is, and I love the way Earl said it, he said, you have a compulsion for conformity. And you have a deep-seated fear of criticism. Because the number one problem in the world is judgment. And when you were little, this mistaken identity was formed. And, if you're working on your self-image and if you're trying to find your purpose and figure out who you are, you're making mistakes in the way that you're doing it. Because I was, and I've talked to 1,000 people. I remember when I first really got into working on this information, and even when the story had come out, because people were coming to me and they go, "How did you do it?" And I then went on a quest. Like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to get the message out. I had no intention to write a book, by the way. Bob, you got to write a book, right? I said, I don't want to write a book. In fact, even when I talked to the publisher, I told him, I said, when you get this book, if this is not a good book, you can keep the money and we're not publishing it. I would not publish a book that wasn't any good and didn't work. Okay? And this mistaken identity, basically what happened was when you were little, you land here and you're all happy and playful and then you're perfect. Those little babies, they're so perfect, right? You're perfect. I kept hearing that a lot. Nobody's perfect. Anybody hear that? Nobody's perfect? It's a lie. Okay? And so we're perfect, and we get here, and then as soon as the adults know they have our attention, they hook our attention. They start drilling in rules, values, beliefs, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. And then it's not their fault because it happened to them. They started to judge you. And if you didn't do what was right, if you didn't follow the rules, and if you didn't, eat with your fork, probably whatever it is you didn't do, according to what you were taught, then they would judge you. They would tease you. They would criticize you. They would punish you. In my case, I got hit. And it just began. And very quickly, you know what you did? You started to judge yourself. Has anybody ever been brought up with the feeling or lived with the feeling like I have for so long that something wrong with you? Does anybody ask that question, what's wrong with me? Do you know why you don't get an answer? Because there's nothing wrong with you. But you felt like there's something wrong. And I remember Bob, I was talking to Bob, and I was doing a little thing for young people, because I love working with young people. He said, when they were little, they're growing up, and they're listening to the adults, and they're watching the adults, and he said they know something is off track. They don't know what the right track is, but they definitely can feel something is off track. And so that's what happened to you. Something was off track. And you could have come from the best family and the best parents, but they were off track because they don't know you. Nobody really knows you, except there's really only one person that really knows you, and you should meet him. Anyway, rules, values, beliefs, we start judging ourselves. And then what we do is we start making mistakes. We're an imitation. We start imitating everybody. And we just go about our way trying to sort of get through life and please everybody and conform. Your heart is telling you to go this way, but everybody's telling you to go that way. And so you just keep, you grow up with this mistaken view of yourself. In my case, and I don't want to rain on the parade, but 60% of you in this room have suffered some form of an adverse childhood experience. Divorce, mental illness in your family. It gets worse as you go down the scale, right? Abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, mistreatment. I went through all that, right? I went through 2 years of sexual abuse when I was 13. And then when I was kidnapped at 15. I was writing in my gratitude, before I forget, because I only got a couple of minutes here. I was writing my gratitude pad, I'm so grateful for my abuse. Because here I am, right? I get to do this. Somebody in an interview said, how is it that you can be grateful for your abuse? I said, because I'm talking to you, and I'm helping you. I also was very grateful I wrote down, I'm so grateful for you, Rachel, and your gift of music. Because as I was doing the gratitude, I was really connecting. It's beautiful. Anyway, last thing I want to tell you. And the solution to self-image, here it is. It's really quick, okay? Stop trying to find yourself and stop trying to find your purpose. The key is get rid of your mistaken identity, and you'll meet your true self. That's the ticket. And that's how simple it really is. And so in my book, what I did is, I love Alvin Toffler, whatever you say his name. He said, the illiterate of the 21st century won't be the people that can't read and write. It'll be the people that can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. And so I built my book that way. So I use my story in the book. The book is not a book to read. It's actually a workbook, really. Each chapter is about 5 minutes to read, 3, 4, 5 minutes, very short. I open up with a little quote from somebody to kind of, that goes with the chapter. And then I tell my story. And the reason I tell you the story is because I'm trying to change your mind. Okay? If you don't change your mind about your story and about you, your life will never change. Kim's just up here trying to get you to change your mind. But don't forget, you've got all that conformity and fear of criticism and all that judgment around you. Right? It's not going away. And you'll never meet yourself or find your purpose unless you get rid of this mistaken identity. And every one of you, I don't care how successful you are, every one of you have it to some degree or another. So I teach you what a mistaken identity is, how to figure out what yours is, and then I get you to unlearn. And so then I start changing your mind. And I just start hammering home stuff that Bob taught me and stuff that I learned from people that are long gone. Right? I don't listen to very much in the present because most people don't know what the hell they're talking about. I didn't. Right? And so you have to unlearn some stuff and then you relearn, and just basically 3 simple rules operate your mind properly. And that is, don't look at the past. Bob says, stop looking at the past, Doug. I'm not. Yes, you are. Stop looking at the past. I'm not. Yes, you are. Right? Stop looking at the past. Stop worrying about the future, because you can't control it anyway, and just live in the moment and just be yourself. And that's it. And so I put the book together, and there's exercises. And if you're going to get the book, I just want to make sure you use the book properly. Okay? Get the book, read the book. It'll take you literally less than 2 hours to read. Just read it cover to cover, read it, and then I want you to go through the book. Do the book. Like people go, oh, Doug, I just love your book. Well, thank you. It's just a great book. I said, did you read it? Well, I got stopped at chapter 2. Read the book and then go through the book. And at the end of the book, I ask you at the end of each chapter, I ask you some direct questions. And just answer my friggin' questions. You know what people do? I asked the lady the other day, I asked her a question, and that's right, kid. I can go on, right? She went late, I can go. Yeah, okay. One more minute. I asked her a question, and she didn't answer it. In fact, I asked her the question 5 times. I said, you're a beautiful dancer. We're talking about something else. I said, you're a beautiful dancer. I said, well, you're dancing around my question. You never answered my question. She said, what was the question? So I asked her the question. I said, I asked you that 5 times. You know that? She goes, 5 times. I counted. Because you don't want to answer my questions. But this book is so good. And it's not me that put it together, by the way. Okay? Well, anyway, that's another story. But the book is so good. In fact, I'm so impressed with how good the book is. It's better than I thought it was. But I wanted to put a book together that worked. And so if you're going to read the book, don't work on yourself. Let the book work on you. And just answer my questions. I want you to pretend you're sitting with me, and I ask you a direct question. And just give me the friggin' answer. And then let the book, then go to the next page. Don't sit there and try to figure this out. Okay? And if you get rid of your mistaken identity, you will meet your true self. You will fall in love with yourself. Your purpose will be right smack in front of you. You'll be going, it was there the whole time. Mine was there the whole time. I just couldn't see it. I could feel it, but I couldn't see it. I didn't believe in myself, but somebody did. And this lady, you should listen to what she tells you to do and follow her. Work with her. Hire her. Pay her a lot of money. Pay her as much as you can pay her, because it's all going to come back. And I want to thank you for letting me come up here for a few minutes and share this with you. And I just implore you, don't try to fix yourself, just be yourself. Thank you.